The new teaser for the expansion came out, and a lot of people are speculating that we're gonna get a new raid. And I'm one of those people. I think it's essentially all but confirmed that this is gonna happen, and I'm gonna tell you why I think so, and what the consequences of having a new raid would be. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this, go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support me, and let's get into it. But what is the evidence? Let's talk about that first. We have a little bit of evidence because of a specific, what is the word? A specific interview that we got a few months back, where Grouch said that, you know, they were, yeah, in a later question, the interviewer asked about their plans for endgame content, and Grouch responds saying he thinks fans will be pretty stoked about what they have planned for Expansions 5's endgame. And today, in today's, you know, blog post, they talk about in the blog post that they're gonna have some new content that people have been waiting for over 5 years, right? Well, not new content, but content that they've been waiting for 5 years. And almost exactly 5 years ago, of course, the last raid was released in June 2019. It makes sense that we would think about this, right? Now, it's not confirmed, but honestly, considering that people have been waiting and, you know, wanting a new raid, and they've been trying to make strikes work and everything like this, I think for me at least, it's just that's what it is. I don't think there's anything else that it could be, honestly. That, you know, also is something that people have been asking for so long, and actually exactly 5 years. I mean, I think someone here says it's Joel crafting 500. Sorry, cooking 500 was also 5 years ago. But yeah, I don't think really that is gonna be. I don't think that's really good. It's obviously Wing 8, but let's talk about also why did raids fail in the first place. Should they even try this again? Well, the thing is that for Guild Wars 2's raids, they're not the worst thing ever. They're not the best thing ever compared to like other MMOs. But the biggest problem he has is that even though he has some cool systems and cool bosses, they're kind of hard. Not only because there's mechanics to do, but also because of the combat system in Guild Wars 2 is pretty hard to get into. You have to think about boons, you have to think about CC, you have to think about... You can fuck up your build very hard by not having the correct gear. There's a lot of things to think about, and even though for you it might be easy to understand that because you already learned it, that doesn't mean that most people will actually be able to understand this in the first place, right? So, guess what? A lot of people can't get into it, and raids end up being very unpopulated, and that very much makes it so there's not worth developing these raids because, well, if you do, nobody's gonna play them, right? So what's the point behind that? And I think that is the biggest thing they have to tackle. They have to tackle that everyone should be able to get into raids. And how do you do this? You do it like WoW does it, right? You do it with an easy mode, a story mode, where people can actually experience the story with no issues, and also be able to have fun with it and experience the raids and start learning how to do them, right? Imagine a Wing 1 or a Wing 4 where all the mechanics are kind of there, but they do a bit less damage, but you still have to do them in some way, shape, or form. You can queue into it without actually having to talk, you know, having to make an LFG, right? You can just get into it. You can maybe even have an option to solo it for yourself to actually be able to understand more or less the mechanics. And imagine if the new raid is actually integrated into the story in some way. For example, you know, you guys remember that that big instance in Domain of Isten, where you have to like go with Bram and Timmy or whatever. It's a big instance with a final boss at the end. Imagine if that whole thing would be a raid. That could actually, unironically, work pretty well. And that way we have a story mode. We have a new a new raid. We have, you know, reused, you know, content for everyone, right? It just seems like a great idea. Now, we'll see if that's what it is, or if it's gonna be something else. But I mean, I think that's honestly if they're gonna actually go for this new raid idea, if they don't put an easy mode, not only for the new raid, but for every one of the raids that we had before, it would be just dead on arrival, and it would be a waste of time. And I don't think ANET will, you know, make the same mistake again, especially as they actually kind of haven't with these strikes. I think they have had some issues. But to be fair, like, you know, the new Terra CM has been very, very good, and they even gave us a new difficulty setting for people to actually, because like the legendary mode is very, very hard, and to be fair, CM should be a bit easier in my opinion, but you know, at least they gave us another option for it as well, right? Which I think is very, very good. Also, another thing they have to fix is LFG. You know, in Guild Wars 2, we don't really have roles, and we do, but we don't, right? We don't have DPS, healer, and tank. We have DPS, healer, and boon supports. And the thing is, it's pretty hard for, you know, for people to tell which ones they are, and that makes it very hard for us to make, as a commander, you know, to make an actual group. So if you would actually be able to have some sort of system that would have a you know, a little icon on the, you know, on the right of your name that says, hey, I'm quickness because I have assigned myself as quickness, or I'm a quickness heal because I've assigned myself as a quickness heal, or a lacquery heal, or DPS. It will be so much easier for people to actually make groups, I think. And honestly, that is something that I would really like seeing if they really want to, you know, double down on this content, right? Otherwise, it's probably gonna be something that not a lot of people are gonna be, you know, it's just gonna be more annoying. I really, if they're really going for this, they really should concentrate themselves into making it as accessible to go into this race as possible. Now, what's gonna happen with strikes? Are we gonna get strikes as well? Are we gonna keep having it? Are we gonna have one wing, you know, one raid a year and also 2 strikes? I actually think so. I don't think, if they're actually going for this raid idea, that effort is not really gonna be, it's not really gonna be something that affects strikes. They're still gonna have to have story instances in they're still gonna have to have story instances in the expansion, and those can be reused as strikes, and then the whole effort that they put into raids will be just there, right? Instead, they'll just be, you know, boop, just put it there, the raids are there, and, you know, it's just something completely different. There's really doesn't seem like any reason not to have both. And to be fair, 2 strikes a year is just too little. I really don't see any reason to keep doing so little for the game. If you really want your game to prosper in terms of instance content, you need to give more than that. And I think it's a good way of, you know, fixing this. Now, it could also be that the raids end up being something like, hey, it's not gonna be once a year, it's gonna be once every other year. It could happen that way. I hope not, considering the fact that we're not getting that much content in the first place. So I really think ANET can pull this off, and I hope they do. I hope they do. Also, what type of content will these raids have? Will they have pre-events? Will they be like strikes? I think it's gonna be a bit of a mixture. I think we're still gonna have some sort of pre-event. Personally, I think we're gonna have a little bit of it, but I don't think it's gonna be something like you know, like wing 2, like wing 1, when you have spirit run and you're spending like 10 minutes in like a pre-event. I don't think it's gonna be like that. I think we're gonna have like little sections in between bosses, but not too much, and then you know, actual bosses that in some ways behave like raids. Like, hey, you know, you have a lot of like mechanics with the environment or whatever, but I think it's also going to be a lot of, you know, strike design mechanics that you cannot evade with just stability or blocks or ages, right? I think it's going to be a lot of like, hey, you need to do this mechanic, otherwise you will die. And I'm a fan of those things. I think you have to balance both together. You can't just let everyone just you can't just let the power that the players have just completely obliterate the boss. You need to be able to also, you know, the boss needs to be able to fight back in some sort of way. And I think that's something that Strikes has, you know, really have been doing well. You also can't make the boss just explode because you do too much damage, while at the same time you cannot make the boss be insanely spongy, so it takes like forever to kill. The middle ground between Strikes and raids should be, I think, they're trying to achieve in this new raid when it does come out. So I'm excited for it. I'm very hopeful for it. and we'll see what happens. Maybe we're all wrong and it's something completely different that it wasn't raids. I would be very, very surprised. And I did say that if Wing 8 doesn't come out this year, I would roleplay as a slug on stream. So, you know, I really hope I am not wrong. That being said, guys, tell me what you guys think. Thank you. Tell me if you have any cool ideas, if there's anything that I missed, anything that you think should be in the next raid. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Go to my Twitch to watch me live. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support this channel. Go to my Discord if you want to hang out off stream. And see you guys around. Love you all. Bye bye.